When I make a movie for the director. And my crew makes a movie for the director. With Marty. Oliver.
But he's out of condition. You reap that which you sow, but you planted without thinking. Now the cup
And Quentin.
Yeah! Ooh, that's a bingo.
I'm not trying to enhance myself. I'm trying to create what the director wants.
Bingo!
On set, a relationship is built on trust. And that's true with any director I work with.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
I'm always going to try to achieve what they have their mind set on. And we just work towards a goal.
Chief, me and my wife are pretty sick. Could be dying. You never can tell about these things.
I was shooting a shot during Natural Born Killers, and as I made the pan to push them into a corridor inside a prison, I ran into a cell. The camera smashed up against my eye, and this golf ball of blood popped up. You know, I couldn't see, and Oliver was looking at me like, well, there goes our day. I turned to the doctor and I said, lance it now. And they cut it, butterflied it, and we just kept shooting. What that taught me was that just continuing to give all you can whenever you can. That's an extreme example of what you have to do, but I think in our lives we have to be devoted to the art at a very high level. Well, I started on documentaries. I worked on a film in El Salvador, a documentary about the death squads.
Upon arrival in El Salvador, we were put into military fatigues because I was with a small platoon of men. I had never been in war. So I set up a tripod, put on a very long lens, and immediately I began to hear these strange sounds. All of a sudden I realized that these things were bullets. The guerrillas thought I was setting up something that would be akin to a mortar. I leapt to the ground and I froze. And the director came up behind me and knocked the camera off the tripod, said, pick it up and shoot. And I said, F you, you shoot. And I just lay there. But I decided I didn't come all this way to turn my back on it. So I put the camera into handheld mode and I began to shoot. They were going to shoot me, they were going to shoot me. I was a man of steel. I didn't care. I didn't even care if I died. I filmed recklessly for days under fire. And that choice of that war put me in linkage with Oliver for his film, Salvador. If I had not made that choice, I would never have been sitting with Oliver in a room. He wouldn't have had the respect to sit with me. Large learning curve to have your first feature be Salvador. Fortunately, in a handheld manner. The level of passion Oliver had for making his films was tremendous. Salvador was a passion project that he wanted, Platoon more so.
Wash, you take your squad out. Move out in 2-0 mics.
I thought it was O'Neill's turn tonight.
No. Tubbs and Morehouse are short. Pew Shang's going on an R&R tomorrow, and you want to send them out on an ambush? You got the fresh meat, buddy.
Born the 4th of July, another. JFK was a film he'd been waiting for.
Why was Kennedy killed? Who benefited? Who has the power to cover it up?
On Casino with Marty, because his shots are extraordinarily specific,
Yeah.
Meet me at 3.
Whoa, Caesar's?
100 yards further down the road.
Why?
Don't ask questions, just be there.
Your timing has to be perfect. I operate every show. It was the most difficult operation I've ever done in my life.
In Vegas, everybody's got to watch everybody else.
He would map things to music. You're here for this beat, you have to be over here for this beat. You have to be over here for this beat, and you need to be here on this word.
The boxmen are watching the dealers. The floormen are watching the boxmen. The pit bosses are watching the floormen. The shift bosses are watching the pit bosses. The casino manager is watching the shift bosses. I'm watching the casino manager, and the eye in the sky is watching us all.
If it's going to be a whip and stop on somebody, you need to whip at the exact moment and land. If it doesn't land at the moment, it doesn't work for Marty. The performance doesn't work.
Signaling back and forth.
I've been losing for 3 days straight, non-stop. Why are you crying with 2 loaves of bread on your arm?
Mickey thought nobody was watching him, but he was wrong. And I didn't want any of those agents near my place.
Because the shots demanded precision.
Oh, thank you.
That is the last time you do this to me, Markin.
I was lighting his images, and I was creating a look for the movie.
Love this city.
That's where he allowed my creativity to explode, was in lighting.
Kill the Nazis!
Quentin creates almost everything that he writes in a shot down. That shot is going to be shot in that manner, no matter what it takes to achieve it. And Glorious is a primary example.
How old is Bob? 18 or 19. I'm not really sure.
Well, I guess that should do it. In the case of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I lit it with broad, soft strokes. Because we're one camera, I knew where I could put the light to best illuminate whoever I was shooting, whether it was Leo or Brad and so I would have big, broad sources bouncing off a muslin through another muslin. It's a book. They call it a book. And it's a very soft level of illumination on the face, which generally I put to the side so that one side falls off slightly darker.
Hey, bought me an acid-dipped cigarette today.
Oh, yeah?
Stayed with that detail that did focus.
You want to smoke some, just save me some.
Nah,
no, I don't need to trip out on no acid. My booze don't need nobody. Whoop. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
And Quentin doesn't want windows, which windows means is that if I don't like a wall and it's too bright, in digital, I can darken it and hide it. Quentin doesn't want that. He wants me on a set to darken that wall.
Production designer is what we all need, cinematographers, and I have a strong belief that the better the production designer is, the better our work will be, because they help propel and help aid us in how we grade our scenes, in terms of how we light our scenes, how they're actually able to be staged.
Dies hier ist der hervorragende Sensationsdarsteller Enzo Gorlomi.
Gorlomi?
Lo pronuncio correttamente?
Sì, corretto.
Gorlami? Per cortesia, me lo ripeti ancora.
Gorlami.
Mi scusi, con me?
Gorlami.
Ancora una volta.
Gorlami.
E come si chiama lei?
Antonio Margareti.
I don't think there's any magic bullet formula, but we all need to talk more about this, is how vital a crew is. My crew supports me. They help me achieve better goals. You know, I'm very demanding in terms of what I want to achieve. I push, but I also listen.
With entirely new perspectives on aesthetic, because many people are shooting and framing off of iPhones or whatever their methodology is. They're not looking through eyepieces. It's changing the way they compose. When I watch and work with people that operate, they come in on second camera, they don't want the eyepiece. They want the monitor. And I say, let's put the eyepiece back on. Keep the monitor.
You're so old-fashioned, Bob.
I am old-fashioned, but I do believe that the idea of what happens with the eyepiece is one eye closes and the other eye is focused on what you're aiming at. If you have both eyes available to you, you're scanning a world. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to put your concentration into the very thing you're supposed to be shooting. Wow. Another film called Venom, it's the second Venom, with Tom Hardy. It's a character that doesn't exist. His secondary character.
Good evening, Venom.
Function Hall, Mrs. Chen.
He says hi.
So a lot of it's going to be visual effects in terms of trying to determine how they interact. And it's something I've never done. This is the first time for me doing something this interactive between characters.
I say either, you say either, I say neither, and I say neither, neither. Let's call the whole thing off. Ta-da! Catch up.
Excuse me?
Yummy.